Jean Grey was born to Elaine Grey and John Grey. Like most mutants, she had a regular and even happy life for the first decade. Pretty much up until the moment her mutation appeared. It was a regular day, and 10-year-old Jean was playing with her best friend, Annie Richardson, when she was hit by a car. Jean witnessed it all and entered such a state of distress that her telepathic abilities developed. Accidentally, Jean's mind linked to Annie's, who was dying, so she felt her friend's life escape her body. This traumatic event marked the mutant forever, leading her to isolate herself from others since she was also hiding her newly found telepathic abilities. In an attempt to cure her depression and anxiety, Jean's parents brought her to Professor Charles Xavier. Professor X soon realized Jean was a mutant, a very powerful one at that, so he helped her by creating telepathic shields in the girl's mind, at least until she was ready to use her mutation properly. Of course, the professor didn't reveal any of this to Jean's parents. Instead, he only recommended that they enroll her at Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters in Bizarre Adventures number 27, June 1981. You already know this, but Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters doubled as a cover to train the X-Men, a super team of mutants. Enrolling in this school was Jean's first step into becoming an X-Men. Once at Professor X's school, Jean began her training with the other X-Men, Cyclops, Iceman, Angel, and Beast. She took the Marvel Girl moniker. Together, the X-Men fought all kinds of threats, particularly Magneto's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. However, none of them was such a dangerous endeavor as their contact with the Phoenix Force, especially for Jean. This cosmic entity found Jean while scanning the universe for a worthy host. Of course, the mutant was perfect, thanks to her latent telepathic abilities. During a mission that involved the team flying through a solar flare, Jean almost died. However, the Phoenix Force promised to save her peers in exchange for the mutant's body. Jean returned to life, calling herself Phoenix and wielding more power than ever in Classic X-Men number 9, February 1987. Unfortunately, the Hellfire Club's member known as Mastermind corrupted the Phoenix, turning this entity into the Dark Phoenix in X-Men number 131, December 1979. As an evil being, the Dark Phoenix consumed whole planets, killing billions of living beings all over the universe. When it returned to Earth, threatening it too, Phoenix took control for a moment thanks to Professor X, but this was only to realize she had to die to stop the Phoenix, since she was herself that entity. The Dark Phoenix saga ended on a sad note, with Jean dying after saying her goodbyes to her friends and her lover, Cyclops. However, this would be just the beginning for the character. Instead of simply dying, Jean came back to life thanks to death itself. In fact, since that time, Jean has come back to life plenty of times. The Dark Phoenix saga didn't get rid of her. It established her as an incredibly mighty character. When discussing strong mutants, most people think about Wolverine, Magneto, or even Professor X. However, true X-Men fans know that Jean Grey is among the most powerful superheroes, not just in the mutant community, but in the whole Marvel universe. Did you know this? Jean is considered an Omega-level mutant, an Omega-level telepath, and an Omega-level telekinesis user. This means her abilities are off the charts. When it comes to ranking her power, there isn't a definable upper limit to it. In fact, Jean is widely regarded as the single most prolific telepath in the whole Marvel universe, since it's believed she hasn't even reached her true potential, even though she has done tons of amazing things. No wonder the Phoenix chose her. Okay, but what can she do? We already told you that when Jean first used her abilities as a kid, she managed to link herself to the mind of her friend. This is because her main ability is telepathy. Does this mean she is a mind reader? That's just the tip of the iceberg. Thanks to her telepathic powers, Jean can read minds, project her own ideas into others' psyches, and even manipulate others to do her bidding through powerful mind control. This applies to humans and animals, too. Jean is known to do this on a one-on-one scale easily, but she has used her abilities on a massive scale, too. Once, she was able to broadcast a message to every X-Men all over the globe in Uncanny X-Men Volume 5, Number 9, January 2019. Jean can also use her telepathic links to force another person to experience a memory or even a prediction in the most vivid manner. She had Nate Gray see everything she had done before taming the Phoenix in Uncanny X-Men Volume 5, Number 10, February 2019. What's more, Jean can manipulate memories. She can bring them back, hide them, and even implant fake ones. Additionally, she can make her enemies unconscious in a blink by inducing them to sleep or even by paralyzing their brains. Jean's telepathy works great as a weapon since she can access her enemies' minds within seconds, forcing them to experience complex illusions. But it's also a great defense method. The mutant can avoid detection from other psionic forces, and she can even shield others close to her. She also works as a buffer for her team. She has the ability to enhance other mutants' powers, or even to weaken them. Thanks to her power amplification and power negation abilities, no mutant wants to be on the wrong side of the battlefield with her around. She's definitely a formidable foe. Of course, there's more. In addition to being a powerful telepath, Jean has empathic powers. This doesn't mean she's good at understanding emotions. She can literally control them, so she can induce a person into any kind of feeling, good or bad. Jean wields incredible telekinetic powers too. When she directs her mind towards reality, instead of other people's minds, she can move objects. We're not talking small things. She has moved complete spaceships, buildings, and even complete planets. Of course, her telekinesis also helps her fly. Again, this is only the beginning. Through this telekinetic prowess, Jean can disassemble complex gadgets, create force fields, heat and freeze objects, create psychic blasts, and even manipulate matter to a subatomic level. She can literally change matter from wood to glass or metal, or even disintegrate it, only using her brain. How amazing is that? Now, Jean rarely runs out of energy to use her psionic abilities. This is because she can siphon psychic energy from others to keep using her abilities. This siphoning can be used as a weapon too. If she drains an enemy just enough, she will knock them out. Besides, she can use this energy to create psychic blasts that can take down any threat. She did it to Galactus once in Generations Phoenix and Jean Grey #1, August 2017. By using psionic energy, no matter if it's hers or taken from somebody else, Jean has resurrected herself, recreating her body from the worst-case scenarios ever. This means she's pretty much immortal. Everyone knows Jean and the Phoenix Force have a complex relationship, and she has even died due to this connection. However, with Marvel's ever-expanding lore, the Phoenix Force has bonded with others like Cyclops or Echo. These heroes also became this entity's avatar at one point. However, Jean Grey's connection with it goes beyond a host-entity relationship. She hosts the Phoenix, but she's also the Phoenix in its house. Does that make sense? This means her bond to this entity is there, even when the Phoenix is with someone else. In fact, Jean can simply take it whenever she wants to. She's the one true Phoenix. It doesn't matter how many avatars may come after her. In fact, Jean is something called the White Phoenix of the Crown, as seen in New X-Men, Volume 1, number 151, January 2004. This is basically the Phoenix's final and most powerful form. As the most prominent avatars of the Phoenix Force, Jean gets access to forces that others wouldn't even know about. As the White Phoenix, Jean is even stronger than the Dark Phoenix, so she can manipulate time and space. Combine this with her epic telepathic abilities, and you have someone who can control anything and anyone in the world. In addition to this, her Phoenix bond allows her to create cosmic fire, which will burn even without oxygen. She can also travel through space without the need for breathing, and she can create blasts of Phoenix energy that could destroy suns in a moment. Jean can also control life force, manipulating it in and out of others, so she can kill people or resurrect them. Of course, this also applies to her. The Phoenix can never die, so neither can Jean. She will always return, even if she loses her body. Finally, she possesses something called existence mastery. This is exactly as it sounds. Jean can warp reality to her will and nothing can stop her. This is way more than any other Phoenix avatar has gotten. So now you know, she has the deepest connection to the Phoenix in the Marvel Universe. Do you remember Jean's sacrifice during the Dark Phoenix saga? Jean Grey sacrifices herself in the endgame, so the Phoenix disappears with her. This is probably her first heroic feat ever. Still, many don't know that by sacrificing herself, Jean actually saved the whole multiverse. Not just her planet. What if? Number 27, April 1981. Explores Earth 81727, a reality where Jean didn't sacrifice herself to stop the Phoenix. In this timeline, Professor X was unable to neutralize the Dark Phoenix, so Jean never regained control. After putting Xavier in a coma, the Phoenix killed every X-Men one by one. Ultimately, Polaris sacrificed herself to buy Havoc and Cyclops sometime. However, this was pointless. The Phoenix murdered Havoc, leaving Cyclops for last. It's almost as if this were a punishment for Jean. Completely aware of what she's doing, Jean actually loses it when she realizes that she has killed her beloved boyfriend. Her grief makes it impossible for her to control her emotions, and the Phoenix Force completely overwhelms her. As the Phoenix expands, it destroys Earth, then the solar system, and then the whole universe and beyond. This reality truly showcases how important Jean's sacrifice was in the first place. If she hadn't found the strength within herself to bring down the Phoenix, she would have simply let Earth 616 disappear. Her final fate was even more heroic than anyone expected. It's basically a joke in the fandom that the X-Men have a super complicated family tree. Jean and Scott are guilty of a big percentage of this situation. Scott and Jean have a total of 5 children, but this is only if we consider DNA. The first thing you need to know is that Jean Grey has a clone, Madeline Pryor. This mutant is an exact copy of Jean Son's The Phoenix powers. Pryor was created by Mr. Sinister. She was supposed to become a living weapon against Apocalypse. However, fate had other plans. Madeline met Scott in Uncanny X-Men Volume 1, number 168, January 1983. who fell for her immediately since she looked identical to the love of his life. They shared an intense romance that actually ended in marriage. However, the shadow of Jean never abandoned them, and Madeline grew resentful. Then Jean actually returned, and Scott abandoned his new family in X Factor, Volume 1, Number 1, November 1985. This is unarguably one of the most shameful moments in Scott's life, but let's not get sidetracked. The point here is that Madeline shared a life with him, and so they had a kid. His name is Nathan Summers, also known as Cable. Although Jean isn't Cable's mother, he shares Madeline's DNA, which is also Jean's. Does this make sense? Jean isn't Cable's mother, but a DNA test would show she is. It doesn't make things easier that Cable has been a time-traveling soldier all his life, so he often looks older than his own parents. If you think this is strange, wait up. The second Summers Gray child is Nate Gray, aka X-Man. Nate is the son of Scott and Jean. However, he wasn't conceived by them. Instead, Mr. Sinister played God with the couple again. He used Scott and Jean's DNA to bring Nate to life on Earth 295, as explained in X-Men Volume 1, Number 1, May 1997. He then traveled to Earth 616, making things very complicated for everyone. Nate is actually considered a variant of Nathan, even though he and Cable don't have the same mother. They're technically the same person, and they hail from different Earths. This is basically what makes a variant. Then there's Strife, a third version of this character. Strife is an actual clone of Cable, who first appeared in New Mutants, Volume 1, Number 86, December 1989. He comes from Earth 4935, and he was raised by Apocalypse to become his vessel. By the way, he's also from the future. So far, Jean has 3 DNA sons, but only one of them was created with her own DNA. Funnily enough, although he's the one who was created from her, she didn't even give birth to him. Now let's talk about Jean and Scott's daughters. Or should we say daughter? Jean and Scott had Rachel Summers on Earth 811, a dystopic reality, as revealed in Uncanny X-Men, Volume 1, Number 199, August 1985. Contrary to her brothers, Rachel actually inherited Jean's abilities and her connection to the Phoenix. This cosmic entity brought her to the past when things got difficult on her own Earth. It took a while for her to accept this new life, but she became a beloved member of the X-Men family eventually. She actually goes by the Marvel Girl moniker, like her mom did all those years ago. Now, the last daughter is actually Rachel again. This time, she isn't a clone, but a time-displaced version. How does this work? Well, at some point during her story, Rachel was thrown into a new future timeline so she could stop her own brother, Cable, from becoming a tyrant. Here, she became Mother Ascani, the leader of a religion that inspired the Resistance. Since she managed to save this future, Rachel reappeared in the present. This is the moment the original Rachel became Marvel Girl. However, the future version also stayed over there, since otherwise a paradox would cause her to never stop Cable, since it would mean she was never there. Does this make sense? We told you it was complicated. Did you notice? Scott and Jean have 5 kids, but in reality they have 3 clones of a single son, and 2 versions of their daughter. This family tree is full of footnotes. Did you know Jean Grey was the first X-Men to die ever? We already explained how the Phoenix saved her after the heroine was hit by a powerful ray of solar radiation, but you should know this was only the first time it happened. A bit later, she sacrificed herself to save the world during the Dark Phoenix saga, remember? Well, this was the second time she died. Then, after she willed herself into life from the White-Hot Room, Jean died again on Cyclops' arms after Zorn hit her with a powerful electromagnetic pulse following an intense battle in New X-Men, Volume 1, Number 150, December 2003. The 4th time she died happened during Phoenix, Endsong. In fact, she had Cyclops kill her with an optic blast when she became incapable of controlling the Dark Phoenix. Then came House of X. During this event, she died in a battle against Orcus and the Mother Mold Sentinel. This time, she didn't last long dead. The 5 brought her back. More recently, in X-Men Hellfire Gala 2023, Volume 1, Number 1, July 2023, Jean was stabbed by Moira McTaggart, a former X-Men ally who became an anti-mutant cyborg in recent comics. The 5 brought her back again. In fact, now that these powerful mutants can bring anyone back to life, death seems like a very small concern for the mutant community. Every time she has died while bonded with the Phoenix, Jean has ended up in the White-Hot Room until the Phoenix resurrected her. This place is like her personal purgatory. But instead of purging her sins, she just waits for the eventual resurrection. Now, even if the Phoenix doesn't come through, the 5 will. She's truly immortal at this point. Would you like to see more of her in the future? What about in the MCU? And more importantly, did you know all these things about Jean Grey? Let us know in the comments, and remember to subscribe. Until next time, thanks for watching CBR.